deal? That's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I mean? As of this recording, it is 10:49 a.m., May 24th, 2026. You know what I mean? It's the first video. This is the only video of the day because it is raining outside. Like, it's pouring. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still going to head over to Queens, you know what I mean, for some footage for Double or Nothing. You know what I mean? These niggas it's raining like a motherfucker here in New York. It is pouring. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean, they got a retractable roof. Let's see how much people are really gonna be there at Louis Armstrong Stadium. Let's see. Now, because they're claiming that, oh, it's a sellout and such, right? But it took long for it to be a sellout. You know what I mean? It took really fucking long for it to, for everything to go into full capacity and such. But, we'll see. I mean, we shall see. I mean, we shall see. We shall see. We shall fucking see. You know what I mean? Let me also say something real quick before I get started into the video. Right? This has nothing to do with wrestling. I know it has nothing to do with what I do on here. But anybody who is going to try to comment and say that, oh, what I said about the kids who was subway surfing, because I commented on a video, right, about kids who was in the J train subway surfing and they died. They got murdered. Like, I seen a video. You know what I mean? There's a video floating around of these two kids, one 18 and one 14. They were subway surfing right up on the J train. You know what I mean? They was going from Marcy to, I think, Delancey. You know what I mean? And this is on a Friday. You know what I mean? One of them banged, one of them was on top, they banged their head, boom. And, they fell all the way to the ground and you could see the body, bam. You know what I mean? The other one just jumped off. And I said, that's good for him. And guess what? I still stick by what I said. But if y'all have a problem with what I just, with what I said, talking about, oh, they should never done what they done in the first place, too bad. Too bad. I had comments, from people saying, oh, well, what you said was disgusting and stuff. I don't give a fuck. I'm from New York. I'm a native New Yorker. I mean, I'm a native New Yorker. I can say anything I want to say. You know what I mean? And if y'all don't like the fact that, that I said good for them, too bad. Nobody told them to go out to go on top of the J train and do this dumb shit. Now do this dumb subway surfing shit. You know what I mean? So basically that tells me that y'all defend what the fuck they did. You know what I mean? But that's a whole different ballgame. Anyway, last night was the Saturday night's main event. And it was actually a decent show. It was a decent show. Evil said something that Evil from Self-Made said something that I thought was very interesting. He said something extremely interesting, and this is what I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, and go Knicks. You know what I mean? I think the Knicks will sweep Cleveland tomorrow night. So he says WWE's operation and main sponsorship branding priority being on ESPN have left the Peacock deal in a lame duck situation. But that also allows these no longer NBC edition of Saturday night's main events to be unfiltered, fat-free, unsaddled shows that more closely than any other presentation WWE currently puts on resembles a traditional pro wrestling show. And it had me thinking, I'm like, yo, he might be right. He might be right because I think with Peacock, right? Again, it allows WWE. It does allow WWE to make the show flow a little bit more better as opposed to some of the shows that they put on, like on ESPN and such, right? With the sponsorship and branding and everything. And it does make sense. It really makes sense because, number one, there were some good matches there. You know what I mean? The main event was good, with the Vision and thing. That the Ethan Page match with Penta was fucking great. The tag team match with Jade, B-Fab, and Meechin, and that was also a good match too. You know what I mean? So it did make the program flow to a point where these shows do feel like, they did resemble past WWE traditional pro wrestling shows, right? And it does make sense. You know what I mean? And mind you, I don't really agree with Ebu a lot. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that he says that kind of is like, this dude is a grifter. But I can't disagree with him there. I mean, I can't. He also says was a fan of the formatting of the event with the matches, backstage interviews, angles, results that built to bigger matches and video package that are relevant to the wrestling you're about to see. It does make sense. He also said basic recipe stuff you want and expect from a wrestling show / PPV had been eroded in recent months on the ESPN era shows, and it does make sense. You know what I mean? Because with the ESPN shows, like you just go straight match. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's more of a sport oriented format than you do with Peacock. You know what I mean? Like it definitely feels like that. And he does have a point. Now, I can't lie. Like he has a point with this. Now, I mean, he truly has a point with what was said, right? He truly has a point because of what you seen last night. And like I said, the shows, it was a good 2 hours. I mean, I was flipping back and forth from that and the game. You know what I mean? The game, let me tell you something a little bit about the game. The game was actually a really good fucking game. I mean, the Knicks was not going to let Cleveland go on top and such, and dominate. They was not. And let me also mention one other thing too, because I gotta mention this as well. So I'm watching Wild Women in Wrestling, right? It was a good show last night. It was a really, really good show. I can't lie. Like that show was, the episode of Wild was pretty good, right? And so, they had the triple tag team match with Best for Business, Miami Sweet Heat, and Ashley Blaze with Tara Strike. And going into the match, I said, okay, maybe Best for Business might wound up fucking around and win the tag team championships, right? But I was wrong because Tara Strike and Ashley Blaze wound up winning the tag team championships, which was shocking to me. You know what I mean? Because I thought that with Best for Business, the way how they hyping Best for Business up, that they would be a bona fide contender for the tag team championships. But I was wrong. I was legitimately wrong. Now, I mean, shout out to Ashley Blaze and Tara Strike for winning because that was a shocker. It was a true shocker. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was shocked. I was pretty much shocked because that was something I was not expecting. I clearly was not expecting, both of these girls to win the tag team championships at all. Because my original vision, right? My original vision was that Best for Business, would beat Miami Sweet Heat, and then they'll transition the titles over to both Tara Strike and Ashley Blaze. But I was wrong. Now where do Miami Sweet Heat go from here? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I do not have a clue on what happens to the Carlson sisters. I don't. The Carlson twins. I don't. I really don't. But it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I know what's going to happen because someone interfered, yesterday from the match. You know what I mean? But I think they honestly deserve more than just that. Do I think they're going to be tag team champions again? I don't think so. You know what I mean? I mean, they're fucking 5-time champions, bro. You know what I mean? They're 5-time Wild Women's tag team champions. So I don't know what happens from there. With both, I don't. Now, I mean, I really don't know what takes place. But it's as far as Tara Strike and Ashley Blaze, I honestly think that Best for Business, that's their feud now for the tag team championships. Now, I mean, I think it's going to be Best for Business, and because there's one team that you don't want to sleep on, honestly, and that's the Enlightened. The Enlightened. Now, I mean, the Enlightened is my favorite group they're my favorite stable out of all WoW. You know what I mean? Miranda the Mindful is a dime. I keep looking like, damn, she is fucking gorgeous, bro. I'm like, damn. You know, but that's just me. You know, anyway, guys, I'm about to be out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making any more videos for the rest of the night. It's raining. I will capture some footage for thing tomorrow. I mean, for Double or Nothing tonight. You know what I mean? And then I'll add it onto YouTube. You know, in the coming days and such. But I'm about to be out. I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.